Defence ministers of Ukraine, UK and Denmark to host ministers from allied countries today in Copenhagen to discuss long-term support for Ukraine, including military training, mine clearance and weapon supplies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the country will respond in kind to Russian shelling of its towns. Kenyans await the results of their country's presidential election, with preliminary results showing a tight race between the two leading candidates vying to replace outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta. Despite a low turnout, hopes are afoot for a peaceful transition in the East African country. Heat wave and drought continue to beat down on Europe. Firefighters battle wildfires in southwestern France that destroyed more than 6,000 hectares of land. UK issues extreme heat warning as heat wave causes blazes, power outages and damages critical infrastructure, even as some parts face water shortages. Back home, Vice President-designate Jagdeep Dhankhar set to take oath as the 14th Vice President of India today. President Draupadi Murmu to administer the oath at 12:30 this afternoon. Earlier this morning, Jagdeep Dhankhar visited the Rajghat and paid homage to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Election Commission of India to host virtual meet of the Asian Regional Forum in New Delhi today. The meet will focus on the theme Making Our Elections Inclusive, Accessible and Participative as a precursor to the Global Summit for Democracy to be hosted in Mexico in the coming month. Mexico, Mauritius and the Philippines are among other countries who will participate in the meet. Indian stock market rallies around reports of ebbing inflation in the US. Hopes up on Fed Reserve dialing down interest rate hikes. Key US inflation indices see a sharp drop on the back of falling energy prices, although worries about possible economic slowdown remain. And in sports, Real Madrid beat Eintracht Frankfurt 2-0 to clinch the UEFA Super Cup title, with Benzema and Alaba scoring a goal in each half. This is the fifth time that the Champions League winner Real Madrid has lifted the Super Cup, equaling the record with Milan and Barcelona. Good afternoon. Welcome to this broadcast. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Our top story first. Defence ministers of Ukraine, UK and Denmark will host ministers from allied countries today in Copenhagen to discuss long-term support for Ukraine, including military training, mine clearance and weapon supplies. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine will respond to the Russian shelling of a town and it needs to consider how to inflict as much damage on Russia as possible to end the war quickly.
Збройні сили України, наша розвідка.
The armed forces of Ukraine, our intelligence and our law enforcement agencies will not leave today's Russian shelling of Dnipropetrovsk region unanswered. This is the question that everyone is worried about. When will the war end? Some say months, some say a year, some say even more. But the matter of time actually depends directly on the question of the losses suffered by Russia. The more losses the occupiers suffer, the sooner we will be able to liberate our land and ensure the security of Ukraine.
Про це варто думати.
Moving on, vote counting is underway after Kenya's presidential election, with preliminary results showing a tight race between the two main candidates. Deputy President William Ruto and veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga are vying to replace President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is stepping down after reaching his two-term limit. Tuesday's election is seen as an important test for stability in East Africa's biggest economy. Two of the last three elections led to bloodshed and accusations of vote rigging. Tuesday's polls were largely peaceful, and Kenyans say that they hope that it remains that way.
Everything is going on well, and we want just peace to prevail in this particular area because it was treated as a hotspot, and we don't want such kind of a thing. And what we want to say is that whoever will win, let him carry the the button. It's a relay game.
England has been left struggling with water shortages as the country faces its driest summer in 50 years. Oxfordshire village residents are relying on water companies to assist them when the taps run dry. Britain's Weather Service issued an amber extreme heat warning for parts of England and Wales, with no respite in sight from hot, dry conditions that have sparked fires, broken temperature records, and strained the nation's infrastructure. The British government said it had introduced the early stages of drought plans, which involved using water carefully to protect supplies following record-breaking temperatures. Moving on, wildfires tore through the Gironde region of southwestern France, turning the sky into the color of flames. More than 6,000 hectares of land has been destroyed and it has ravaged at least 16 dwellings. More than 1,000 firefighters and 8 aircraft were also deployed in the fight against the blazes, which have struck France at the height of its worst ever drought. Wildfires continue through the region, destroying homes and forcing the evacuation of more than 8,000 residents, some of whom had clambered onto rooftops as the flames got closer. Numerous small roads and parts of a highway were closed. In other international updates, former U.S. President Donald Trump refused to answer questions during an appearance that he made before the New York State Attorney General in a civil investigation into his family's business practices on Wednesday. New York State Attorney General Letitia James is looking into whether the Trump Organization inflated real estate values. James has also said that her investigation uncovered significant evidence that the Trump Organization, which manages hotels, golf courses and other real estate, overstated asset values to obtain favorable loans and understated the values to get tax breaks. Now, expressing his views on the matter, Naima Rahmani, who's a former federal prosecutor, while talking to a news agency, said that since Trump has tried to avoid this case at every step, now he has been unable to get the case dismissed. According to Rahmani, the settlement might not happen for both legal as well as political reasons.
Now that the discovery phase is concluding, the parties are going to line up their experts and get ready for trial. Again, Trump has tried to stop this civil lawsuit at every step. He's lost at the New York appellate courts time and time again. So now that he's been unable to get the case dismissed, I don't see settlement happening here for both legal and political reasons. So we're going to look at a trial, a public trial. Again, not the criminal trial that many want, but a civil one for the former president.
U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi said on Wednesday that the United States could not allow China to normalize the new level of pressure on Taiwan that it asserted with days of military drills following her visit to the Chinese-claimed island. China, meanwhile, said on Wednesday that it had completed various tasks around Taiwan, but will continue regular patrols, potentially signaling an end to days of war games while keeping up the pressure on the self-ruled island.
We will not allow China to isolate Taiwan. They have kept Taiwan from participating in the World Health Organization, other things where Taiwan can make a very valued contribution. And they may keep them from going there, but they're not keeping us from going to Taiwan. We will not allow them to. So we think that their reaction, that was our purpose, to salute this thriving democracy. I think what we saw with China was they were trying to establish sort of a new normal. We didn't go there to talk about China. We went there to praise Taiwan. And we went there to show our friendship, to say China cannot isolate Taiwan. So that's what it was about.
Argentine leftist groups and unions were marching to the Plaza de Mayo Square, waving flags and holding signs against the IMF. Argentinians have requested a meeting with the recently appointed Economy Minister, Sergio Massa, on the country's worsening labor and life conditions. Analysts polled by Argentina's central bank sharply raised their inflation estimate for this year to 90.2%, which is up 16.2 percentage points from the previous month's forecast. This is according to a survey published in August. Latin America's third largest economy has been suffering for years from very high inflation, which has been aggravated since March by the effects of the war which was launched by Russia on Ukraine. News from Peru now. President Pedro Castillo's sister-in-law, Yennefer Paredes, turned herself in to authorities after the authorities issued an arrest warrant amid graft accusations. Authorities were reportedly seeking Paredes as part of an investigation into the alleged influence peddling. Political instability and allegations of corruption have increasingly beset Castillo's presidency. Meanwhile, Peru's President Pedro Castillo blamed the media and the opposition of plotting against his government during a speech on Wednesday, which is a day after the prosecutor's office issued an arrest warrant against his sister-in-law. Violent clashes between the army and a criminal gang left stores and vehicles on fire in Mexico's Guanajuato state. Video footage from social media showed vehicles burning in the streets of Irapuato. The state's government secretary, Libia Garcia, said on social media that violent clashes between the army and a gang in the neighboring state of Jalisco had spread. At least 13 vehicles and a convenience store were destroyed in an arson attack in Mexico's Jalisco state following a clash between the army and a criminal gang. The clashes broke out in western Jalisco after uniformed officers broke into a meeting between drug traffickers. In retaliation, the criminals launched attacks in towns in Jalisco and Guanajuato. Now, according to the Jalisco government, 1 gunman was killed and 5 others were arrested. 2 alleged attackers were also captured. Now, explosive fire was seen at the Cuban oil storage facility. Flames engulfed a 4th tank at an oil storage facility in western Cuba on Tuesday as the raging fire consumes critical fuel supplies on an island grappling with a growing energy crisis. Aerial footage showed the aftermath of what officials described as the worst fire in Cuba's history. Officials said the fire destroyed 40% of Cuba's oil depot and caused massive blackouts. Firefighters and specialists from Mexico and Venezuela helped fight the blaze in the province of Matanzas with boats and planes. 1 firefighter died and 16 went missing, and 5 others remain in critical condition. Moving on, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in the Rwandan capital of Kigali on Wednesday, where he will focus on the role that the Rwandan government can play in reducing violence in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Blinken is also expected to raise the detention of Paul Rusesabagina, who is a U.S. permanent resident who was portrayed as a hero in the movie Hotel Rwanda and sentenced to 25 years in prison on terrorism charges related to the activities of an organization which was opposed to President Paul Kagame's rule. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Freetown in Sierra Leone. People are protesting inflation and the rising cost of living in the West African country. A video uploaded on social media captured the moment where a person who is believed to be a Sierra Leone police officer is firing a gun and a tear gas canister during a day of anti-government protests. Mortuary staff said that at least 2 police officers and 1 civilian died in the unrest. Meanwhile, Sierra Leone's government previously said that there had been deaths but did not say how many. Long-standing frustration has also been exacerbated by rising prices for basic goods in Sierra Leone, where more than half the population of around 8 million people lives below the poverty line, according to the World Bank. Earlier on Wednesday this week, Internet Observatory NetBlock said that Sierra Leone faced a near-total internet shutdown during these protests, with national connectivity at 5% of the ordinary levels. News from Italy now. Brothers of Italy leader Giorgia Meloni recorded a video message in 3 languages on Wednesday to reassure Italy's partners that a right-wing government led by her would not threaten financial stability and would stick to Rome's traditional alliances. Italy's conservative bloc, which also includes Matteo Salvini's League and Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia, is well placed to win an outright majority at an election which is scheduled for the 25th of September this year. Now, Meloni tops the polls and looks on track to become the next Prime Minister of Australia. However, some analysts have cast doubts over her fitness for the role, citing the fact that her party traces its roots back to a post-fascist movement. Meloni, meanwhile, dismissed these as nonsense claims that she would head an authoritarian government, saying that such views are inspired by the powerful media circuit of the left. She did not elaborate any further. Melanie underlined her party's commitment to the West and her condemnation of the Russian attack on Ukraine, which is a thorny issue for the conservative bloc due to the historically close ties of Salvini and Berlusconi with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, Melanie, who often attacks Brussels bureaucrats, as she calls them, and whose party has been labelled Eurosceptic by many analysts, denied any plans to quit the euro and pledged not to jeopardise Rome's roadmap to obtain billions in post-pandemic EU funds. Melanie, whose party was the main opposition to Mario Draghi's national unity government, said that the recovery plan drawn up by Draghi could be improved upon and its failings were due to his quarrelsome coalition.
For days I have been reading articles in the international press about the upcoming elections that will give Italy a new government, in which I am described as a danger to democracy, to Italian, European and international stability. I have been reading that the win of Fratelli d'Italia in the September elections would mean a disaster, leading to an authoritarian turn, Italy's departure from the euro and other nonsense of this sort. None of this is true. But I am well aware that these articles are inspired by the powerful media circuit of the left, which here in Italy is very strong in newspaper newsrooms and in those of the television programs. But it is definitely very much outnumbered among the Italian people.
Let's now shift focus and get you the updates on the COVID numbers from across the world. So far, COVID has infected more than 59 crore 24 lakh people globally. The number of recoveries from the disease stand above 56 crore 43 lakh, while the virus has claimed 64 lakh 46,000 lives worldwide. United States continues to remain worst affected by registering the highest number of COVID cases in the world. The country's COVID case tally remains above 9 crore 43 lakh, whereas the number of fatalities from the disease have been logged in as above 10 lakh 60,000. A look at Europe now. In France, the maximum number of cases were recorded and they were reported more than 3 crore 41 lakh, whereas Germany and UK come in second and third in the list. Germany has reported over 3 crore 14 lakh and UK recorded over 2 crore 34 lakh COVID cases so far. They're followed by Italy, which has reported above 2 crore 14 lakh cases of the disease. Let's get you national updates now. Pre-summit meeting of the Tiger Range countries as a prelude to the Tiger Range countries summit scheduled to be held at Vladivostok in Russia is currently in progress in New Delhi. In his ministerial address session, Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav said that India is happy to be hosting this pre-summit meeting in the national capital. Addressing the delegates, he said that their inputs are invaluable for shaping up the Tiger Declaration to be adopted in the forthcoming summit at Russia. Despite all odds and an ever-transforming world order, Tiger Range countries have put up a brave front and done a commendable job on the wild tiger front, for which he complimented all Tiger Range countries for their hard work.
On behalf of Government of India, I had proposed to host this pre-summit meeting to finalize the draft declaration on tiger conservation. I am happy to see it materialize today, and so I like this opportunity to warmly welcome you all for this event. Your enthusiasm that I am seeing here today makes us very hopeful about the future of tiger conservation. Today I take pride in sharing with the august gathering the fact that India has 52 tiger reserves covering approximately 75,000 square kilometer area across 18 province states.
Now, on the sidelines of the event, DD India correspondent Tapash Bhattacharya spoke with Dr. S.P. Yadav, who's the Additional Director General of Project Tiger and Member Secretary NTCA, regarding the conservation approach and the mitigation measures in India.
The pre-summit meeting of the Tiger Range country is currently taking place in the national capital, and to talk about that I have with me SP Yadav, the man who is responsible for getting all the Tiger Range countries come in Delhi. It's a 13 country who are traditionally in the Tiger Range country. How many countries have come today in this particular summit?
Out of 13, 11 countries are participating here in this pre-Tiger Summit meeting. China and Indonesia, they could not make it today. And another country, Kazakhstan, which is former range of tigers, and they are also participating because they have lost all their tigers and they want to bring back. So they wanted to learn from the best practices of Tiger Range countries. So they are also there. In all, 12 countries are here in this meeting.
Are you guys going to lay down the foundation or the points that is going to be discussed in the summit in Russia?
The summit is being hosted by the Russian Federation at Vladivostok on 5th of September, where heads of governments or ministers of all Tiger Range countries are supposed to participate in that meeting. So in that meeting, there will be a declaration which will be adopted by all Tiger Range countries. And the declaration, we are working on that declaration because there are a lot of issues. That declaration has to be very effective. It should set the tone of tiger conservation, maintain the momentum of tiger conservation across the globe. And we hope that with very good participation of Tiger Range countries and all stakeholders, we will be able to finalize, we'll be able to come out with a very good declaration of tiger conservation, and which will be adopted in the next Global Tiger Summit at Vladivostok.
We were told that by August we might be seeing the cheetah reintroduced in the country. How is that going? How is the whole plan going?
In fact, we are planning to bring cheetahs from Namibia and South Africa. And from Namibia, as you are all aware, the government has signed an MOU with Namibia, and we are getting 8 cheetahs from Namibia. Now these cheetahs have been identified, they have been vaccinated, they have been radio collared, and they are under quarantine, the mandatory quarantine period. And similarly, we are supposed to sign another MOU with South Africa. We'll be getting 12 cheetahs from South Africa. The MOU has been finalized from our side, and we are just waiting for the green signal from South African side to sign it. And once this MOU is signed, then we'll be able to bring cheetahs to India.
While we celebrate the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, this is going to be a feather in the cap of the country in introducing the cheetah once again in India. With camera person Gopal, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for TD India, Delhi.
From cheetahs on land, let's talk about cheetahs of the skies. And in an important milestone in the Gaganyaan project, Indian Space Research Organization test-fired the low-altitude escape motor, or the LEM, of Crew Escape System successfully from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota on Wednesday. According to ISRO, the Crew Escape System, or the CES, takes away the crew module of the Gaganyaan mission in case of any eventuality and rescues the astronauts. In case of a mission abort during the initial phase of the flight, low-altitude escape motor provides the required thrust to the CES to take away the crew module from the launch vehicle. India's maiden human space mission Gaganyaan will be launched in 2023. Today is Raksha Bandhan, a festival that celebrates the bond between brothers and sisters. Indians across the world celebrate the occasion by tying Rakis. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, has greeted citizens on the occasion. In a tweet, she said, and I quote, "On the occasion of Raksha Bandhan, I congratulate all my fellow citizens. Raksha Bandhan is an expression of love and affection of sisters for their brothers, and also an occasion to reiterate the unbreakable bond between them. Raksha Bandhan symbolizes spontaneous love and reciprocity and also brings people closer. May this festival of mutual trust between brothers and sisters encourage harmony and respect for women in our society." Unquote. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also greeted the citizens on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Greetings to everyone on this special occasion of Raksha Bandhan." Unquote. The Election Commission will host a virtual meeting of the Asian Regional Forum on Thursday, that's today, on the theme of making our elections inclusive, accessible and participative. The meet is a precursor to the Global Summit for Democracy, which is to be hosted by the National Electoral Institute of Mexico in the coming month. The Global Summit and the Regional Forum meet aim to generate synergy among international organizations and electoral bodies of the world and promote intellectual and institutional mobilization to strengthen electoral democracy. And now let's get you news about Har Ghar Tiranga in the run-up to our 75th Independence Day. This time, India's Independence Day is going to be very special. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and 75 years of the Indian independence, young cadets from 14 countries have been invited to witness the Independence Day function at the iconic Red Fort. All right, let's go across live to the oath-taking ceremony of the Vice President designate, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar.
माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, आदेश पूर्व निर्वाचन आयोग से प्राप्त उपराष्ट्रपति जी के निर्वाचन का प्रमाणन पढ़ा जाए। यतः भारत के संविधान के अनुच्छेद 324 द्वारा भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति के पद के निर्वाचन का अधीक्षण, निर्देशन और नियंत्रण भारत निर्वाचन आयोग में निहित है और यतः श्री एम वेंकैया नायडू की पदावधि का अवसान वर्ष 2022 के अगस्त मास के 10वें दिन तदनुसार शक संवत के वर्ष 1944 के श्रावण मास के 19वें दिन होने के लिए नियत है और यतः भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति के पद को भरने के लिए संविधान तथा राष्ट्रपतीय और उपराष्ट्रपतीय निर्वाचन अधिनियम 1952 के उपबंधों और तदधीन बनाए गए नियमों और आदेशों के अनुसार निर्वाचन करा लिया गया है तथा परिणाम घोषित कर दिया गया है। अब इसलिए भारत निर्वाचन आयोग एतद द्वारा प्रमाणित करता है कि श्री जगदीप धनखड़ वर्ष 2022 के अगस्त मास के 6वें दिन तदनुसार शक संवत के वर्ष 1944 के श्रावण मास के 15वें दिन भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति पद के लिए सम्यक रूप से निर्वाचित हो गए हैं। भारत गणराज्य के 73वें वर्ष में हमारे हस्ताक्षर और भारत निर्वाचन आयोग की मुहर से वर्ष 2022 के अगस्त मास के इस 6वें दिन तदनुसार शक संवत के वर्ष 1944 के श्रावण मास के 15वें दिन प्रदत्त किया गया।
मैं जगदीप धनखड़ ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि
मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा तथा जिस पद को मैं ग्रहण करने वाला हूँ उसके कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक निर्वहन करूंगा।
माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, अगर आपकी आज्ञा हो तो इस समारोह की कार्यवाही समाप्त की जाए।
देवी और सज्जनों, सभी अतिथि गणमान्यों के लिए चाय पानी की व्यवस्था।
India gets her 14th vice president as Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar took oath right now, which was administered by President Draupadi Murmu, the 14th vice president of India, now taking oath. We just saw the live visuals of the oath ceremony from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is all in this broadcast, but news and updates will continue on DD India. Thanks for joining us right now. Namaskar.